Have you ever noticed how your child's defiance feels like a dagger straight to your heart? When was the last time you stood in your kitchen, raised, feeling completely powerless as your child walked away from you again? That moment when you realize your words are bouncing off them like raindrops on glass, and something deep inside you breaks just a little more. Notice how your body responds right now, just thinking about it. That tightness in your chest, the familiar knot in your stomach, the way your shoulders tense as if bracing for another battle you're not sure you can win. Your teenage daughter rolls her eyes when you ask her to clean her room for the third time this week. Your 8-year-old continues playing video games despite your clear instruction to turn it off. Your preteen walks away mid-conversation as if you never spoke at all. This isn't random. This isn't just kids being kids, or a phase that will magically pass. Your psyche is trying to tell you something profound about the hidden dynamics playing out between you and your child. Carl Jung, the great depth psychologist, understood that what we experience as outer conflict often reflects the deepest inner battles we haven't yet acknowledged. When your child ignores you, disrespects you, or treats your authority like it's invisible, they're not just being difficult. They're serving as a mirror, reflecting back to you something your unconscious mind desperately needs you to see. The unconscious mind always knows what's really happening, even when our conscious mind is caught up in the frustration, the hurt, the sense of failure that comes with feeling unheard by the people we love most. Think about yesterday. What triggered that familiar surge of anger when your child dismissed your request? Notice how it wasn't just their behavior that upset you. I'm Duckworth. It was something deeper, something that made you feel small, powerless, maybe even invisible. That reaction isn't coming from nowhere. It's coming from a place inside you that still remembers what it felt like to be dismissed, ignored, or treated as if you didn't matter. You're asking your teenager to clean their room, and they look at you with that expression, the one that says your words are meaningless, your authority is a joke. In that moment, you feel something primal rise up within you. It's not just anger, though anger is certainly there. It's a deeper wound, a fundamental questioning of your place, your value, your effectiveness as a parent. Your mind races, how did I lose control, or where did I go wrong? Or even maybe I'm just not cut out for this. But what if I told you that this moment, this exact moment of feeling dismissed and powerless, is actually your psyche's way of showing you something crucial about yourself? What if your child's behavior isn't really about you at all, but your reaction to their behavior is entirely about you? And what if that's exactly where your power lies? Jung understood that when we experience intense emotional reactions, especially repeated ones, we're encountering what he called a complex, an autonomous cluster of psychic energy that operates largely outside our conscious control. The parent-child dynamic is one of the most powerful arenas where these complexes reveal themselves. Your child says something disrespectful, and suddenly you're not the mature adult anymore. You're the wounded child inside who never learned that they mattered. Your child's disrespect isn't just about them testing boundaries or asserting independence, though those elements are certainly present. At a deeper level, their behavior is activating something in your own psyche, perhaps your own unresolved relationship with authority, your childhood experiences of being dismissed or ignored, or the parts of yourself that still carry wounds from feeling powerless. Notice how your body responds when I say this. Your child's behavior is not actually about you. It's not a reflection of your worth as a parent or your inherent value as a person. Can you feel the resistance to that idea? The part of you that wants to protest, but they really are being disrespectful. This isn't about me. That resistance is pointing you toward exactly what needs your attention. The tension you feel, me's, that desperate need to be heard, respected, acknowledged. is pointing you towards something your psyche needs you to integrate. Jung called this process individuation, me's, the lifelong journey of becoming whole by integrating the unconscious parts of ourselves into conscious awareness. Your child's behavior is forcing you to confront the parts of yourself that seek validation from external sources, that tie your sense of worth to how others respond to you, that still carry the wounds of your own childhood experiences with authority and respect. Think about your own childhood for a moment. How did you relate to authority figures? Were you the compliant child who learned that love meant suppressing your authentic? Did you discover early on that the way to get attention and approval was to be good, to follow rules, to never rock the boat? Or were you the rebellious one who discovered that the only way to maintain your sense of self was through opposition? Maybe you swung between both extremes, never finding a stable center, always either completely submissive or completely defiant. Whatever your pattern was, it lives within your psyche today, and when your child displays disrespect, they're unconsciously triggering the very dynamics you experienced but never fully processed. The unconscious mind always knows what needs healing, and it will continue to present us with opportunities, often through our children, until we pay attention. This isn't comfortable to acknowledge. Our conscious mind wants to focus on the child's behavior, on techniques and strategies to make them comply. We want to know how to make them respect us, how to regain control, how to fix this problem that feels so threatening to our sense of competence as parents. But Jung revealed that the most profound transformations happen when we turn our attention inward, when we ask not, how do I make them respect me? But what is this pattern trying to show me about myself? Within every parent lies what Jung called the shadow, the parts of ourselves we haven't acknowledged, integrated, or accepted. In the context of parenting, this shadow often contains our own unresolved relationships with authority, power, and respect. We unconsciously project our shadow onto others, especially those closest to us. When your child disrespects you, you're not just dealing with their behavior. You're encountering a projection of your own disowned relationship with authority and power. Jung revealed that we tend to project onto others the qualities we haven't accepted in ourselves. If your child's defiance triggers intense reactions in you, ask yourself, where in your own life do you struggle with respect? Midas either giving it or receiving it? Where do you find yourself either being overly compliant or unconsciously rebellious? Where have you learned to suppress your authentic in favor of what others want to hear? Perhaps you've noticed that you have a hard time standing up to authority figures in your own life. Your boss, your partner, even service providers. You swallow your truth to keep peace. You say yes when you mean no. You smile and nod when inside you're screaming. Or maybe you find yourself constantly in power struggles, always needing to prove that you're right or that you deserve respect. You challenge everything, question everyone, unable to accept guidance or input from others. These patterns don't exist in isolation. They're connected to the very dynamics playing out with your child. Your 8-year-old who ignores your instructions about video games might be unconsciously carrying forward the part of you that learned to rebel against rules that felt arbitrary or controlling. Your teenager who rolls their eyes at your requests might be expressing the part of you that never learned how to maintain your authentic while still being respectful. This isn't random. Your psyche is incredibly intelligent, and it will use every available opportunity to bring unconscious material into conscious awareness. Your child becomes an unwitting participant in your own individuation process, the lifelong journey Jung described as becoming whole. Jung called this phenomenon psychological inheritance. We don't just pass down genetic material to our children. We transmit unconscious patterns, unresolved complexes, and shadow elements that play out across generations. Your child's disrespectful behavior might be their way of carrying forward patterns that began long before they were born, patterns that have been seeking resolution through your family line for generations. But here's what Jung also understood. Recognition is the beginning of transformation. When you can see that your child's behavior is activating your own unresolved material, you step out of reactive patterns and into conscious choice. You begin to parent, not from your wounds, but from your wholeness. The transformation begins when you can recognize these patterns without judgment. Not "I'm a terrible parent" or "I'm so screwed up," but simply, this is the pattern that's ready to be healed. The unconscious doesn't respond to self-criticism, it responds to compassionate awareness. Notice how your body responds when you approach yourself with curiosity rather than judgment. There's a softening, an opening, a sense of spaciousness that wasn't there before. This is your psyche saying, yes, this is the right direction. When you can hold the parts of yourself that struggle with authority, that carry wounds from childhood, that sometimes feel powerless or out of control, when you can hold these parts with compassion, you naturally begin to respond to your child from a different place. Jung emphasized that individuation isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. It's about integrating all parts of yourself, including the parts that struggle with authority, that carry wounds from childhood, that sometimes feel powerless or out of control. When you can hold these parts of yourself with compassion, you naturally begin to respond to your child from a different place. Your child's behavior begins to lose its emotional charge for you because you're no longer taking it personally. You recognize it as their own developmental process, their own way of individuating and becoming who they're meant to be. You understand that their disrespect isn't a reflection of your failures as a parent, but rather information about their internal world, their developmental needs, their own unconscious patterns seeking expression. What happens inside your body when you consider this possibility? Notice whether there's resistance, relief, or perhaps a mixture of both. The part of you that's been carrying the burden of thinking you need to control your child's behavior might feel some relief. The part that's been taking their disrespect as evidence of your inadequacy might begin to soften. Your psyche is trying to tell you something crucial about the patterns you're unconsciously perpetuating. Jung understood that the unconscious mind operates according to its own logic, often repeating familiar dynamics even when they cause suffering. This is because the psyche seeks completion, that it will continue to present us with variations of the same theme until we finally understand and integrate what it's trying to show us. When your child disrespects you, notice what happens inside your body. Do you feel a familiar tightness in your throat, a burning sensation in your chest, a heaviness in your stomach? Do your hands clench? Does your jaw tighten? These physical responses are your psyche's way of saying, pay attention, this is important. The unconscious mind always knows what's really happening beneath the surface drama. While your conscious mind is focused on your child's behavior, their eye-rolling, their ignoring, their defiant words, your unconscious is responding to much deeper currents. It recognizes patterns that go back generations, dynamics that shaped your own childhood, and unfinished business that's seeking resolution through your parenting experience. Jung revealed that what we resist in others often points to what we haven't accepted in ourselves. If your child's disrespect triggers intense reactions in you, ask yourself, where in your own life do you struggle with respect, either giving it or receiving it? Where do you find yourself either being overly compliant or unconsciously rebellious? Where have you learned to suppress your authentic responses in favor of what others want to hear? Maybe you notice that at work, you have difficulty speaking up in meetings, even when you have valuable contributions to make. Perhaps you find yourself agreeing with your partner's decisions, even when you have different preferences, because conflict feels too threatening. Or possibly you recognize that you have a pattern of challenging authority wherever you encounter it, unable to accept guidance, even when it might be helpful. These patterns aren't separate from what's happening with your child. They're all part of the same psychological material that's seeking integration. Your child's disrespectful behavior is simply the latest manifestation of unconscious patterns that have been operating in your psyche for years, perhaps decades. This understanding brings a different quality to your experience of your child's behavior. Instead of feeling personally attacked or diminished, you begin to recognize their disrespect as information. Information about your own psychological patterns, information about what's ready to be healed, information about the unconscious dynamics that have been running your life without your awareness. The transformation isn't just internal. As you withdraw your projections and take ownership of your own psychological material, your child unconsciously begins to shift as well. They're no longer carrying the burden of representing disowned parts of your psyche. They're free to be themselves rather than unconsciously acting out your unintegrated shadow. But this process requires patience and self-compassion. You've been reacting to your child's disrespect from unconscious patterns that were formed long before they were born. These patterns won't disappear overnight simply because you understand them intellectually. They need to be worked with consistently, with the same patience and understanding you would offer a good friend who was learning a new skill. Notice how your body responds to the idea of approaching yourself with this kind of patience and compassion. Does something in your chest soften? Do your shoulders relax slightly? This is your psyche recognizing truth. The truth that healing happens through kindness, not criticism. Jung understood that psychological transformation is not a linear process. There will be days when you respond to your child's disrespect from your old patterns, when you get triggered and react from your wounds rather than your wisdom. This isn't failure, it's part of the process. Each time you notice yourself getting pulled into the old patterns, you have an opportunity to make a different choice. The key is developing what Jung called conscious suffering, the ability to stay present with difficult emotions and experiences without being overwhelmed by them or needing to escape them immediately. When your child displays disrespectful behavior, instead of immediately reacting, you can and notice what's happening inside you. What emotions are arising? What physical sensations are you experiencing? What old stories or beliefs are getting activated? This creates space for consciousness to enter. In that space, you can choose how you want to respond, rather than being driven by automatic reactions. You might still set boundaries or address the disrespectful behavior, but you'll be doing so from a place of groundedness rather than reactivity. Your child will sense this shift in you, even if they can't articulate what's different. Children are incredibly sensitive to the emotional field of their parents. When you stop taking their behavior personally, when you stop needing them to validate your worth through their compliance, something fundamental changes in the dynamic between you. This sets the stage for a completely different kind of relationship, one based on genuine connection rather than power struggles, mutual respect rather than forced compliance, understanding rather than control. But first, you must be willing to look honestly at your own patterns, to own your own psychological material, and to take responsibility for your own healing. The unconscious patterns that get activated when your child disrespects you didn't begin with them, and they won't end with them unless you consciously choose to interrupt them. This is both the challenge and the gift of conscious parenting, the opportunity to heal, not just your relationship with your child, but the generational patterns that have been unconsciously transmitted through your family line. When your child displays their most disrespectful behavior tomorrow morning, what if you could respond from a place so grounded, so unshakable, that their words and actions simply cannot knock you off balance? What if that between their behavior and your response became the space where everything changes? Notice what happens inside your body when you consider responding to disrespect without taking it personally. Does something shift? Do your shoulders drop slightly? This is your psyche recognizing a truth that your conscious mind hasn't fully grasped yet. Authentic authority doesn't come from demanding respect. It comes from embodying the qualities that naturally inspire it. Think about the people in your life whom you genuinely respect. Your favorite teacher from childhood, perhaps, or a mentor who guided you through difficult times. Was it because they insisted on respect or demanded it through power plays? Or was it something else? Something in their presence, their groundedness, their authentic way of being that naturally evoked your respect without them ever having to ask for it? Carl Jung revealed that true authority is archetypal. 3. It comes from connecting with the deeper patterns of wisdom that exist within what he called the collective unconscious. When you try to force respect through external means, through louder asserts, stricter punishments, or emotional manipulation, you're actually disconnecting from this deeper source of authority. You're operating from your wounded ego rather than your integrated wholeness. The unconscious mind always knows the difference between authentic authority and manufactured control. Your child can sense, at levels below conscious awareness, whether your response is coming from your own groundedness or from your wounds. They respond accordingly. When your authority comes from your need to be validated, they unconsciously resist. When it comes from your genuine care for their well-being and development, they unconsciously cooperate. This morning, when your teenager walked away from you mid-conversation, what was really happening in that moment? On the surface, they were being disrespectful. But what if their behavior was actually serving a deeper purpose? What if they were unconsciously testing whether you could maintain your center regardless of their actions? What if they needed to know that your sense of self, your inner authority, wasn't dependent on their compliance? Children need to feel that their parents are unshakable, not rigid or controlling, but genuinely grounded in something deeper than the immediate circumstances. When you remain calm in the face of disrespectful behavior, you're demonstrating something your child desperately needs to learn: how to maintain your center regardless of external chaos. Jung understood that the psyche seeks wholeness through integration of opposites. Within your shadow, those parts of yourself you've disowned or suppressed, often lie your most vital and creative energies. When your child displays defiance or disrespect, they might be unconsciously carrying forward parts of your own shadow, the rebellious and authentic aspects of yourself that you learned to suppress or deny. Notice how your body responds to this possibility. Is there a part of you that secretly admires your child's willingness to speak their truth, even when it's inconvenient or challenging? Do you sometimes feel envious of their apparent freedom to express what they feel without worrying about others' approval? That stirring you feel isn't just admiration, it's recognition. You're seeing parts of yourself that you lost along the way to becoming the responsible adult. Your psyche is trying to tell you something important. Your child's disrespectful behavior might be showing you qualities you need to reclaim in your own life. Perhaps you've become so focused on being the good parent, the responsible adult, the one who always does the right thing, that you've lost touch with your own authentic. When was the last time you spoke your truth, even when it was inconvenient? When did you last stand up for yourself without worrying about others' reactions? Carl Jung revealed that what we most strongly resist in others often points to disowned aspects of ourselves. If your child's defiance triggers intense reactions, ask yourself, where in your own life do you need to be more assertive? Where do you swallow your truth to keep peace? Where have you learned to suppress your authentic responses in favor of what others want to hear? The unconscious mind always knows what needs balancing. If you've spent years being overly compliant in your marriage, at work, in social situations, your child's rebellious behavior might be your psyche's way of showing you the other side of the equation. They're demonstrating a kind of self-respect and authenticity that you might need to cultivate in your own life. This doesn't mean becoming disrespectful or abandoning appropriate boundaries. It means finding healthy ways to honor your own truth, to speak up for yourself, to maintain your authentic even when others don't approve. Jung called this process holding the tension of opposites, integrating seemingly contradictory qualities into a more complete wholeness. Think about your relationship with your own boss. Do you speak up when you disagree, or do you smile and nod while internally criticizing their decisions? In your marriage, do you express your preferences clearly, or do you defer to keep peace? With friends, do you maintain your boundaries, or do you say yes to requests that you want to decline? Your child might be unconsciously modeling the very assertiveness you need to develop in these areas of your life. When you can embrace and integrate your own rebellious nature, the part of you that questions authority, speaks truth, and refuses to be diminished, you paradoxically become more effective at guiding your child. You're no longer threatened by their defiance because you recognize it as a natural part of healthy development. You understand that some degree of pushing against boundaries isn't disrespect masked. It's your child learning to maintain their authentic self in a world that often pressures them to conform. Your child begins to sense this shift in you. They're no longer carrying the burden of expressing disowned parts of your psyche. They're free to be themselves, to express their authentic feelings and thoughts, knowing that you can handle their truth without being threatened or diminished by it. The transformation is profound. Instead of power struggles, you begin to have real conversations. Instead of compliance or rebellion, you develop genuine relationship. But this integration work goes even deeper than your personal patterns. Jung understood that we're not just influenced by our personal unconscious, but by what he called the collective unconscious, the deeper layer of psyche that contains the accumulated wisdom and patterns of human experience. Your child's disrespectful behavior isn't happening in isolation. It's part of larger patterns that have been playing out in families for generations. Notice how your body responds when you consider your family history. What patterns of authority and respect were passed down through your lineage? How did your grandparents relate to power and control? What unspoken rules governed respect and communication in your family system? Did authority come through fear or through genuine care? Was questioning allowed, or was compliance the only acceptable response? Your psyche is trying to tell you something profound. You have the opportunity to heal generational patterns through your conscious response to your child's behavior. The unconscious mind always knows what needs transformation, and it will present you with opportunities to break cycles that may have been repeating for decades or even centuries. Think about the authority figures in your family history. Your grandfather who ruled through intimidation, perhaps, or your grandmother who manipulated through guilt. Your father who was emotionally absent, or your mother who was overwhelmed and reactive. These patterns live within your psyche as inherited templates for how authority and respect work in relationships. Your child's behavior is giving you an opportunity to consciously choose different patterns. The transformation isn't just personal, it's transpersonal. When you heal your own relationship with authority and respect, you change the psychological inheritance you're passing to your child. Instead of unconsciously perpetuating patterns of power struggle, you model integration, consciousness, and healthy authority. Your child learns that it's possible to maintain their authentic while still being in respectful relationship with others. This understanding brings a different quality to your interactions with your child. Their disrespectful behavior isn't just about teenage rebellion or childhood testing. It's part of a larger healing process that serves not just your family, but the collective evolution of consciousness. When you respond to their behavior from consciousness rather than unconscious reaction, you're participating in something much larger than solving a parenting problem. Within what Jung called the collective unconscious lie archetypal patterns, universal templates that shape human experience across cultures and time periods. The archetype of the wise parent exists within your psyche, and your child's disrespectful behavior is actually calling you to access this deeper source of authority and wisdom. Notice how your body responds when you consider connecting with this archetypal energy. The wise parent doesn't react from personal wounds or ego needs. Instead, they respond from a place of understanding, compassion, and unshakable groundedness. They see beyond the immediate behavior to the deeper developmental needs being expressed. They understand that children often communicate their most important needs through their most challenging behaviors. Your psyche is trying to tell you something crucial. Authentic parental authority comes not from demanding respect, but from embodying the qualities that naturally inspire it. When you connect with the wise parent archetype within yourself, you access a source of authority that doesn't depend on your child's compliance for its validity. You become like a mountain, present, grounded, unmovable, yet not rigid or harsh. Carl Jung revealed that archetypal energies are always available to us, but we must consciously choose to access them. When your child displays disrespect, you can choose to respond from your wounded ego, the part that feels threatened and diminished. Mosh, you can choose to respond from the wise parent archetype that exists within your deeper psyche. The wise parent sees your child's disrespectful behavior as information rather than affront. They understand that children often act out their unconscious material through their behavior, and that the most effective response comes from wisdom rather than reaction. They maintain their center regardless of external circumstances, not through rigid control but through genuine groundedness. This doesn't mean being passive or permissive. The wise parent sets clear boundaries, but they do so from love rather than fear, from strength rather than defensiveness. They understand that children need structure and guidance, but they provide it from a place of groundedness rather than emotional reactivity. Their authority is compelling because it serves the child's highest good, not the parent's ego needs. When you embody this archetypal energy, your child responds differently. They sense that they're in the presence of genuine authority, not the manufactured kind that demands compliance, but the authentic kind that naturally evokes respect through its very presence. They stop trying to knock you off balance because you're responding from a place that can't be knocked off balance. The transformation happens gradually. As you practice accessing this deeper source of authority, you notice that your child's disrespectful behavior begins to shift. They're no longer trying to prove their power because you're not engaged in a power struggle. They're learning that they can express their authentic feelings and thoughts without threatening your sense of self or your ability to provide the structure and guidance they need. But accessing the wise parent archetype requires understanding what Jung called the individuation process, natural human drive toward wholeness and authenticity. Your child's disrespectful behavior isn't just problematic conduct. It's often their unconscious attempt to maintain their authentic self in a world that may be pressuring them to conform or comply. Notice how your body responds when you consider this possibility. Your child's disrespect might actually be their way of saying, "I need you to see and hear the real me, not just the version of me that's easy to manage." They're trying to maintain their psychological integrity, even if they don't have the language to express it clearly. Their defiance might be their psyche's way of protecting their authentic self from being overwhelmed by external expectations. Your psyche is trying to tell you something profound. Your role as a parent isn't to create a compliant child, but to support your child's individuation process, minus their journey toward becoming their authentic self. This requires a delicate balance between providing structure and allowing freedom, between offering guidance and respecting their emerging autonomy. Carl Jung revealed that the individuation process often involves periods of rebellion and questioning. This isn't pathological, it's necessary. Your child needs to differentiate themselves from you and from external expectations in order to find out who they really are beneath the layers of socialization and conditioning. Their disrespectful behavior might be their way of testing whether they can maintain their authentic while still being in relationship with you. When you can understand your child's disrespectful behavior as part of their individuation process, you respond differently. Instead of taking it personally, you recognize it as a developmental necessity. Instead of trying to suppress it, you learn to channel it in healthy directions. You become curious about what their behavior is trying to communicate, rather than immediately moving to control or correct it. The unconscious mind always knows what's needed for healthy development. Your child's defiance might be their psyche's way of maintaining psychological boundaries that they don't yet know how to establish in healthier ways. Their disrespect might be their unconscious attempt to preserve their sense of self when they feel overwhelmed by external demands or expectations. This doesn't mean accepting all behavior or abandoning boundaries. It means approaching your child's development with the understanding that some degree of testing and questioning is not only normal but necessary for healthy psychological growth. Your child needs to know that they can maintain their authentic while still being in relationship with you. They need to learn that they don't have to choose between connection and authenticity. When you can hold this balance, supporting their individuation while maintaining appropriate structure, something remarkable happens. Your child begins to trust that you can handle their authentic self. They stop needing to be disrespectful in order to maintain their psychological integrity. They learn that they can express their real thoughts and feelings without losing your love or support. Jung understood that healing happens in relationship. When your child displays disrespectful behavior, they're not just acting out. They're unconsciously seeking repair for something that feels broken or disconnected in your relationship. Your response to their behavior can either deepen the rupture or begin the healing process. Notice how your body responds when you consider that your child's disrespect might be their way of saying, "I need to feel connected to you, but I don't know how to ask for what I need." Children often express their deepest needs through their most challenging behaviors. The child who acts out after school might be overwhelmed by social stress and needing comfort. The teenager who becomes defiant might be struggling with identity issues and needing understanding. Your psyche is trying to tell you something crucial. Behind every disrespectful interaction lies an opportunity for deeper connection. When you can see past the surface behavior to the underlying need for relationship, you respond from a fundamentally different place. Instead of "How dare you speak to me that way," you might find yourself saying, "I can see you're having strong feelings about this. Help me understand what's really going on."
Carl Jung revealed that the psyche is always seeking wholeness and integration. Your child's disrespectful behavior might be their unconscious way of trying to repair something that feels damaged in your connection. They're testing whether the relationship is strong enough to handle their authentic feelings and responses. They need to know that you won't withdraw your love when they're not at their best. The unconscious mind always knows what needs healing. When your child acts out, they're often trying to communicate something they don't have words for. I need to know that you can handle the real me. Or I need to feel like I matter to you beyond just my compliance. Or I need to know that our relationship is stronger than my mistakes. When you can respond to disrespectful behavior with curiosity rather than defensiveness, you create space for real communication. This shift in approach often reveals the underlying issues that the disrespectful behavior was masking. Perhaps your child is feeling overwhelmed at school, struggling with peer relationships, or processing family changes. Their disrespect was their way of trying to get your attention for these more important concerns.
The healing happens when your child realizes that they can bring their authentic feelings and experiences to you without being rejected or shut down. They learn that the relationship is strong enough to handle their truth, even when it's messy or challenging. They begin to trust that you're interested in understanding them, not just controlling them. This trust creates the foundation for genuine respect, the kind that emerges naturally from felt connection rather than demanded compliance. Your child stops being disrespectful, not because they fear consequences, but because they feel genuinely connected to you. They want to maintain the relationship, and they learn that respect supports connection, while disrespect damages it. But this transformation requires you to recognize when your child's behavior is offering you a transformational opportunity. Jung understood that transformation often happens in moments of crisis or challenge. When your child displays their most disrespectful behavior, you're being presented with a choice that can shift the entire trajectory of your relationship. Notice how your body responds when you consider seeing your child's most challenging behavior as a gift rather than a problem. This perspective might feel foreign at first, but it contains profound wisdom. The unconscious mind always knows what needs healing, and it will present opportunities for growth in the forms we're most likely to notice. Your child's disrespect gets your attention in a way that their compliance never would. Your psyche is trying to tell you something transformational. Your child's disrespectful behavior is actually serving your relationship, even though it doesn't feel that way in the moment. It's forcing both of you out of unconscious patterns and into more conscious, authentic ways of relating. It's breaking down old dynamics that may have kept you distant or disconnected. Carl Jung revealed that psychological growth often requires periods of chaos and breakdown before breakthrough can occur. Your child's disrespectful phase might be the necessary dismantling of old patterns that no longer serve your relationship. It's clearing space for something new and more authentic to emerge between you. When you can recognize these challenging moments as transformational opportunities rather than threats to your authority, everything changes. Your internal stance shifts from defensive to curious, from reactive to responsive, from controlling to supportive. You stop seeing your child as the problem and start seeing the situation as information about what needs attention in your relationship. The transformation isn't just in your response, it's in your entire relationship dynamic. When you stop seeing your child as the problem and start recognizing the situation as information, something fundamental shifts between you. Your child begins to sense that something has changed in you, even though they can't articulate what's different. They're no longer trying to push against rigid authority. They're learning to navigate relationship with someone who can hold both strength and flexibility. Can you feel that shift happening inside you right now? That quality of groundedness that doesn't depend on external circumstances for its stability. You're no longer thrown off balance by your child's behavior because you're responding from a deeper source of strength. This isn't the manufactured control that demands compliance book. This is authentic authority that naturally evokes respect through its very presence. Jung understood that healing happens in relationship, and when your child displays disrespectful behavior, they're unconsciously seeking repair for something that feels broken or disconnected between you. Your conscious response to their behavior becomes the bridge that repairs not just the immediate rupture, but often much deeper wounds that neither of you fully understood were there. Notice what happens in your body when you consider that your child's disrespect might be their way of saying, "I need to feel connected to you, but I don't know how to ask for what I need." Children often express their deepest longings through their most challenging behaviors. The teenager who slams doors might be overwhelmed by academic pressure and desperately needing your understanding. The child who talks back might be feeling unheard and searching for evidence that there matters to you. Your psyche is trying to tell you something crucial. Behind every disrespectful interaction lies an opportunity for deeper connection. When you can see past the surface behavior to the underlying need for relationship, magic happens. Instead of "How dare you speak to me that way?" you find yourself responding with genuine curiosity. "I can see you're having strong feelings about this. Help me understand what's really going on." This shift in your approach often reveals the real issues that the disrespectful behavior was masking. Last week, when your daughter rolled her eyes and walked away, you might have discovered she was struggling with friendship drama at school. When your son refused to follow your instructions, you might have learned he was feeling overwhelmed by the pressure to excel in sports. Their disrespect was simply their unconscious way of trying to get your attention for these much more important concerns. Carl Jung revealed that the psyche is always seeking wholeness and integration. Your child's disrespectful behavior might be their unconscious way of testing whether the relationship is strong enough to handle their authentic feelings and responses. They need to know that you won't withdraw your love when they're not at their best. They're asking, without words, "Can you handle the real me?" The healing happens when your child realizes that they can bring their authentic feelings and experiences to you without being rejected or shut down. They learn that the relationship is strong enough to handle their truth, even when it's messy or challenging. They begin to trust that you're interested in understanding them, not just controlling them. This trust creates the foundation for genuine respect. It's the kind that emerges naturally from felt connection rather than demanded compliance. But this transformation requires recognizing the signs when the shift is actually happening. Jung understood that psychological change often occurs gradually, with subtle indicators that something fundamental is changing beneath the surface. Your child might not suddenly become perfectly respectful overnight, but there are unmistakable signs that the old patterns are dissolving and something new is taking their place. Notice the quality of silence that follows your interactions now. Is there less tension hanging in the air? When you set a boundary or make a request, does your child's response feel different, even if they still resist? You might find that the resistance comes without the sharp edge of hostility that used to characterize your exchanges. There's opposition, but not warfare. Your child starts to experiment with different ways of expressing their needs and feelings. They might test whether they can share their authentic thoughts without triggering your defensiveness. You notice them watching your face when they speak, gauging whether you can truly handle their truth. These are signs that they're learning to trust the relationship again. The most profound indicator of transformation is that you begin to enjoy your child again.
The constant vigilance relaxes. You're no longer bracing for the next battle because you understand that their behavior isn't about you. You remember why you love parenting this particular human being. The defensive hyper-alertness gives way to genuine presence and curiosity about who they're becoming.
Your child responds to this shift in you with their own transformation. They stop needing to be disrespectful in order to maintain their sense of self, because they feel genuinely seen and understood by you. They learn that they can express their real thoughts and feelings without losing your love or support. The relationship becomes safe enough for authenticity. As you integrate these insights and begin responding to your child from wholeness rather than woundedness, you notice profound shifts not just in your parenting, but in your entire approach to life. Jung understood that healing in one area inevitably affects all other areas because the psyche is an integrated system. The authority issues you've worked through with your child naturally impact how you relate to authority in every other area of your life. Notice how your body responds as you consider living from this more integrated place. There's a quality of inner authority that doesn't depend on external validation for its stability. You're no longer seeking respect from others to feel worthy because you've developed an unshakable relationship with your own value. The changes in your parenting have awakened something much larger, a fundamental shift in how you move through the world. Your psyche is trying to tell you something profound. The healing you've done in response to your child's disrespectful behavior has applications far beyond parenting. You've learned to access authentic authority, to respond rather than react, to maintain your center in challenging situations. These are life skills that transform every relationship you have. At work, you find yourself speaking up in meetings with a confidence that surprises you. With your partner, you express your needs and preferences clearly, without the anxiety that used to accompany difficult conversations. In social situations, you maintain your boundaries naturally, without the internal struggle that once made every interaction feel complicated. Carl Jung revealed that individuation is a lifelong process, and your child's disrespectful behavior served as a powerful catalyst for your own psychological growth. It helped you integrate unconscious patterns and access sources of wisdom and strength you didn't know you possessed. This integration continues to deepen as you practice responding from wholeness in all areas of your life. The unconscious mind always knows what needs healing, and it will continue to present you with opportunities for growth through your relationships, especially the most intimate ones. Your child may find new ways to challenge you as they continue their own individuation process, but your capacity to respond consciously will continue to expand. Each interaction becomes an opportunity to practice accessing your authentic authority rather than reacting from old wounds. Your child benefits enormously from your integration work, even though they may not consciously understand what has changed. They're learning, through your example, how to maintain their authentic while still being in respectful relationship with others. They're absorbing a template for healthy authority and genuine respect that will serve them throughout their lives. But this transformation ripples out far beyond your immediate family. Your colleagues, friends, and other family members begin to respond differently to you because you're operating from a different internal place. You've integrated parts of yourself that were previously unconscious, and this wholeness naturally attracts respect and cooperation from others. They sense your groundedness even when they can't articulate what's different about you. The parent who once felt threatened by their child's disrespect now serves as a calm center in family chaos. The person who used to take things personally now responds to others' behavior with curiosity and understanding. The individual who once sought validation through others' compliance now offers authentic leadership that others naturally want to follow. Jung understood that when we heal our relationship with authority in one area, it transforms our relationship with power and respect everywhere. The parent who learns to respond to their child's disrespect from consciousness rather than reactivity becomes the colleague who can handle criticism without defensiveness, the partner who can navigate conflict without losing their center, the friend who can maintain boundaries without damaging connection. Your child's disrespectful behavior, which once felt like evidence of your parenting failures, becomes something you can look back on with genuine gratitude. It served as the catalyst for profound personal growth and transformed your relationship with your child from one of struggle to one of genuine connection and mutual respect. More than that, it initiated a process of psychological integration that touches every aspect of your life. But Jung also understood that psychological development is not a destination but a lifelong process. As your child continues to grow and change, they will present you with new challenges and opportunities for continued integration and growth. Your foundation of conscious parenting will serve you well, but it will continue to evolve as both you and your child develop. Notice how your body responds when you consider embracing this ongoing process rather than hoping for a final resolution. There's something liberating about accepting that parenting, like all meaningful relationships, involves continuous learning and adaptation. The goal isn't to fix your child or achieve perfect harmony, but to maintain conscious relationship through all the changes that growth brings. Your psyche is trying to tell you something important. The disrespectful behavior that once felt so threatening was actually preparing you for the ongoing challenges of supporting a developing human being. You've learned to stay grounded in your own center while honoring your child's individuation process. These skills will serve you well as your child moves through adolescence and into adulthood, each stage bringing its own gifts and challenges. Carl Jung revealed that each stage of development brings unique opportunities for both parent and child to grow. Your child's disrespectful phase was appropriate for their developmental needs at that time, but as they mature, they'll find new ways to assert their independence and test their relationship with authority. Your ability to respond consciously rather than reactively will be tested and strengthened through each new phase. The teenager who once showed disrespect through eye-rolling and door-slamming might later challenge you through their choice of friends, career paths, or lifestyle decisions. The child who tested boundaries through defiance might grow into an adult who questions your values or makes choices you don't understand. Your foundation of conscious parenting prepares you to navigate these challenges without taking them personally or withdrawing your love and support. Jung emphasized that the individuation process minus the journey toward psychological wholeness continues throughout life. Your child's behavior will continue to serve as a mirror, reflecting back to you areas where further growth and integration are needed. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to deepen your capacity for conscious relationship and authentic authority. The signs of this ongoing transformation are subtle but unmistakable. You notice that conflicts with your child, when they do arise, resolve more quickly and with less emotional residue. There's a quality of trust between you that can weather temporary storms. Your child comes to you with their real problems instead of acting them out through behavior. They seek your guidance because they value your perspective, not because they fear consequences. Most importantly, you maintain your center even when your child is struggling. You can witness their pain, confusion, or poor choices without being overwhelmed by your own anxiety or need to fix everything immediately. You trust their capacity to learn and grow from their experiences while offering appropriate support and guidance. This is the essence of conscious parenting, holding space for your child's authentic development while maintaining your own psychological integrity. As this integration deepens, you begin to see the broader implications of Jung's wisdom. The disrespectful behavior that once triggered such intense reactions in you was actually serving the evolution of consciousness itself. Through your willingness to look inward, to own your projections, and to respond from wholeness rather than woundedness, you participated in the healing of generational patterns that may have been unconsciously transmitted through your family line for decades. Your child learns that it's possible to maintain their authentic while still being in respectful relationship with authority. They internalize a template for healthy power dynamics that serves not just your family but potentially their future relationships, their parenting of their own children, and their contributions to society. The ripple effects of your conscious choices extend far beyond what you can see or measure. This understanding brings a profound sense of meaning to the challenges you've faced as a parent. Your struggles weren't just personal difficulties to be overcome, they were opportunities for consciousness to evolve. Your child's disrespectful behavior wasn't just a parenting problem to be solved. It was an invitation to participate in the healing of humanity's relationship with authority and power. Jung believed that individuals who do their psychological work contribute to the evolution of the collective unconscious, the shared psychic foundation that influences all human behavior. When you heal your relationship with authority and respect, you add to the pool of consciousness available to all parents and children. Your growth becomes a gift to the larger human community. Notice how your body responds to this expanded perspective. There's often a sense of purpose and significance that wasn't there before. Your parenting challenges become part of a larger story of healing and transformation. The difficult moments with your child take on deeper meaning when you understand them as opportunities for consciousness to evolve. Your child intuitively senses this larger purpose, even if they can't articulate it. They feel honored to be part of your growth process, rather than simply being the recipient of your parenting techniques. They understand at some level that your relationship with them is sacred, a mutual opportunity for both of you to become more whole, more conscious, more authentically human. The transformation is complete, not when your child becomes perfectly respectful, but when you no longer need their respect to feel whole. You offer authentic authority, not because you require compliance, but because you genuinely care about their development. You maintain boundaries not to protect your ego, but to provide the structure they need to grow. You respond to their behavior with consciousness, not to control them, but to model the possibility of living from wholeness. This is the ultimate gift of conscious parenting, not raising a compliant child, but supporting the emergence of an authentic human being while becoming more authentic yourself. Your child's early disrespectful behavior served its purpose perfectly. It got your attention, activated your growth, and initiated a process of healing that serves not just your family, but the evolution of consciousness itself. Jung understood that the goal of human development is not perfection but wholeness, the integration of all aspects of the psyche into conscious awareness. Your journey through your child's disrespectful behavior has been a masterclass in this integration process. You've learned to hold both strength and tenderness, authority and flexibility, boundaries and understanding. Your child now has the benefit of a parent who can see them clearly, respond to them consciously, and love them unconditionally, while still providing the structure and guidance they need to thrive. They've learned that authentic respect emerges from genuine connection, that healthy authority serves rather than dominates, and that they can maintain their true self while still being in meaningful relationship with others. The skills you've developed through this process, minus the ability to stay centered in chaos, to respond rather than react, to see beneath surface behavior to deeper needs. These become your gifts not just to your child, but to everyone whose life you touch. You've become a force for consciousness in a world that desperately needs more conscious individuals. Your psyche is trying to tell you one final truth. The disrespectful behavior that once felt like your greatest parenting challenge was actually your greatest gift. It forced you to grow, to heal, to become more whole. It transformed not just your relationship with your child, but your relationship with yourself and with life itself. The child who once triggered your deepest wounds became the catalyst for your most profound healing. This is the mystery and the miracle of conscious parenting. Q-Town, how our children serve as our greatest teachers, challenging us to become more than we thought possible, loving us into wholeness through the very behaviors that initially seemed most difficult to bear. Your journey is complete, not because the challenges are over, but because you now have the tools, the wisdom, and the inner resources to meet whatever comes next from a place of consciousness rather than reactivity. Notice how your body responds as you consider the transformation that has taken place. There's a quality of gratitude, peace, and deep knowing that characterizes your relationship with your child now. The battles have given way to connection. The power struggles have transformed into mutual respect. The parent who once felt powerless in the face of disrespect has become a conscious guide, helping their child navigate the complex journey of becoming authentically human.